We've all grown up hearing stories of fairy tales and the mysterious and thought-provoking themes they contain. Stories of little girls adorned in red wandering through the woods or forbidden areas we shouldn't go because there are monsters lurking there. These tales shaped us as kids, and although the messages were sometimes, questionable, oftentimes they stuck with us. We remembered them because we feared them. Now, the most iconic fairy tales were from an age where communication and connectivity were rather scarce, but the youth of today are growing up with different kinds of stories, and indie horror games are leading the charge. So let me take you on a trip and tell you why one specific niche of video games is becoming the new fairy tales of today. This is the story of mascot horror and how it has seized the younger generation in its tracks. So first things first, you may not be familiar with the term mascot horror, so let's quickly touch on what that is. Mascot horror is a genre of horror where the source of the terror is derived from a mascot or an iconic character within the game. Instead of there being some overlapping dark force or cosmic entity of dread, you've got some guy in a bunny suit holding a knife. Like Zipper from Animal Crossing, but he wants to kill you. Mascot horror in some forms feels more relatable. The horror is still there, but it's often tied to something nostalgic or dumbed down by being presented through something more acceptable. And because the horror is presented through a mascot being the subject, it's more memorable, especially when it comes to children. The more scary and twisted the tale, the better. And speaking of twisted tales, this video is sponsored by Tales & Dragons New Journey, a free dark fantasy easy hands-free AFK game where nothing is as it seems. Like the new hero in this cursed land, Nightmare Marlene, with her two-faced struggle between light and dark. Explore a vast realm where all of our favorite fairy tale characters have taken a turn to the Grimm side. And there are so many to collect and level up effortlessly. Unlock twisted backstories as you play and arrange diverse strategic teams of your favorite fairy tale characters. If you love grim dark fantasy and creepy cute art, venture into the fantasy, slay dragons with ease by scanning the QR code on screen or clicking the link in the description. It lets them know where you heard about the game. So download now to get 1001 free draws with a guaranteed 100% rate of 5-star epic cards. Use my code TNDLOCK for in-game rewards for a limited time. Thank you to Tales & Dragons New Journey for sponsoring this delightfully dark video. When most people think of the mascot horror genre, they think of Five Nights at Freddy's, the story of a haunted pizzeria similar to Chuck E. Cheese's, Freddy Fazbear's, where a kid certainly cannot be a kid. In Five Nights at Freddy's, or FNAF as it's shortened, you play as a security guard who has a night shift at this pizzeria. Except the animatronics within come to life at night, and it's up to you to use the security cameras to keep track of their locations to help you survive the night. If they catch you, well, you're dead meat. And think about that. As a kid, we loved Chuck E. Cheese's. Well, if you had one nearby, but the animatronics scared us. We would never tell our parents that, but could you imagine being at one of these places at night? No thanks. And Five Nights at Freddy's captured that energy. The first games were horrifying, and they slowly became more tame over time, but kids absolutely love them. Heck, adults love them too. But why is that? Sure, the characters look more approachable despite their old, rotten appearance, but is that it? Are they popular because they are a bear, bunny, fox, and a chicken? Duck? Chica, what are you exactly? Anyway, what is it that attracts kids to them and makes them memorable? Well, think of Little Red Riding Hood for a moment. It's a classic fairy tale where the moral is that strangers aren't always who they say they are, and you must be wary of trusting them. Now, the characters in this fairy tale are a girl, often in red, a grandma, and a wolf. Now, this wolf is very sly, and in some versions has a lot of, human traits. However, try to imagine this story without the wolf being a wolf. Try to imagine it was just some creepy dude in the woods. Would the story be as memorable? No, not at all. Same with Goldilocks and the Three Bears. If it was just 3 people, the story wouldn't be as memorable. It also wouldn't be as interesting to children. But we can't forget that most fairy tales were designed to strike fear into people, the hope being that whatever moral or message the story contained would be remembered because people would fear what would happen if they failed to do so. Fear was the secret ingredient. Being scared was key. I mean, if there were no fear or no danger in the story, why would someone heed a warning to change their behavior? They wouldn't. Five Nights at Freddy's is no different. Fear is cast over the player. No player wants to get jump scared and be scared. The atmosphere is creepy and unsettling, and the characters are memorable. Now, while Five Nights at Freddy's may not have been directly aimed at children, it's hard to argue that it's one of the biggest parts of the fan base. And FNAF is not alone. Bendy and the Ink Machine, Poppy Playtime, Granny, Baldi's Basics, Tattletale, Choo Choo Charles, Zardy's Maze, Sparky Marky, Rainbow Friends, Roblox Doors, and Piggy. The list goes on and on. All horror games that have mascots at their core, and all horror games that share equal love between older audiences and young children. And this is where that tie into fairy tales starts to show. Nowadays, kids are growing up on iPads and other tablet devices. Books are electronic and technology has entered the lives of children at increasingly younger ages. Heck, sometimes or most times, parents have no idea what their children are watching. Call it bad parenting, call it not understanding the internet, call it just wanting 10 minutes of peace before the chaos begins again. Kids are being subjected to stories and visuals that their parents may not approve of all the time. Hopefully it's not one of those weird Sonic pregnancy animations. Good grief. Anyway, kids are very easy to scare. Most of the time, they hate the dark and the idea of something getting them. But at the same time, being scared is interesting. The things that scare us draw us in. As a young kid, they still have the whole world to experience and everything they encounter is new. But online, they can confront the scary stuff in a way that leaves them not feeling scared. They can watch a YouTuber play a horror game and make it fun. They have a chance to look at the scary thing and not have it be scary because Markiplier is leading the way. He's screaming and laughing and suddenly everything feels okay. The scary mascot no longer feels like they will kill you. And everything about that scary world grows very, very interesting. So much that a child wants to dive in. They have permission to now walk on the grass that they were told to keep off of because they get to experience it with a friend online that makes them laugh. So children grow obsessed with the story of the game. They want to know the mystery behind it and who the scary characters are. And it helps them because the characters are relatable. It's a goofy bunny or an ink drawing brought to life. Maybe it's a crazy teacher with a ruler. And just like a fairy tale, some message or meaning is being passed on to them. Not all the time, of course. Heck, FNAF is about some dude murdering kids and their spirits possessing animatronic animals. Don't wander alone at night, kids! But even if the message isn't really being directed as a moral per se, it's still being passed on. Like in Bendy and the Ink Machine, your character returns to his old animation studio where the whole game is a twisted commentary on unfair work conditions, the grind life of animation studios, and corporate greed. Even getting blinded by ambition so your life crumbles around you as you focus only on your dream, only caring about and achieving more and more. Yeah, kids like the spooky atmosphere and the approachable scary characters, but they're going to remember these messages too. There aren't really a lot of well-known modern fairy tales. When people think of the word fairy tale, they think of the classics, the cultural stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. But the youth of today is growing up differently. They have access to things that the kids of yesteryear did not. They will know far more than we ever will, and the world of fairy tales has evolved because of that. In the electronic age, the stories that kids are seeing and hearing are vast. But a large, sizable chunk of that, whether parents like it or not, is mascot horror. They don't want that wrestling action figure. They want Siren Head and Slender Man, Mom. And even this year, you have the most recent Five Nights at Freddy's installments that touch on the dangers of AI, computer hacking, viruses, and a whole lot of other complicated issues. What kind of morals or messages will these experiences pass on? It's kind of crazy to think about. Now, there are going to be some FNAF Ruin spoilers right here, but content-wise, I think it's really important to talk about it in the context of fairy tales. In Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, the Ruin DLC, you play as a little girl named Cassie who enters the building looking for her friend. Early on, you find a walkie-talkie which guides you through the game, allowing you to talk to your friend. However, the game's horror element leans heavily into the dangers of augmented reality and AI technology. After opting into using a mask that projects an augmented reality world onto the real world, we realize that our voice has been cloned. This saves us in certain situations because we can play our voice over loudspeakers in different areas of the game to make the animatronics hunting us down think we are somewhere else. So at first this feels positive because it prevents us from being killed. But when we reach the end of our journey, deep into the rabbit hole, we realize our friend's voice has been cloned and the monster used it to lure us down there and free it. Now, think about a young child learning that concept. I mean, it sucks that this is the world we're living in, but that kid is going to leave the game knowing that they can't always trust what they hear and to be more careful using technologies. That technology can be both beneficial and dangerous depending on who is using it and what it is being used for. Kind of like a fairy tale. So, mascot horror truly is the modern fairy tale. We remember this story because of the unique, appealing characters who are tossed into the darkness and the unknown. The danger is there and it scares us, but it's so intriguing that we can't help but get as much of it as we can. It's ingrained in our brains, and the story is often experienced through the guidance of another, someone we look up to like a YouTuber or streamer, which makes it feel a lot less scary. Kind of like when my grandma used to tell me fairy tales when I was a kid. Time is a funny thing. And that's the whole point. The stories stick, whether it's a treacherous, lecherous wolf or a nightmare bunny. But what's a creepy fairy tale that stuck with you? Or what mascot horror stands out as the most frightening in your mind? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks again to Tales & Dragons New Journey for sponsoring this video. Do use my link to check out the game and get started on your twisted dark fantasy with 1001 free draws. Thanks friends and fiends for jumping into this modern fairy tale with me. Do subscribe so you won't miss the next spooky thing crawling its way out of the cauldron here soon. Goodbye.